Hey everybody, I'm Aaron Simmons. This is Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, June 15th, 2020. Today I want to continue our conversation about midlife. I want to start by quoting something from David Sedaris. This is in his book Calypso. He writes, "Though there's an industry built on telling you otherwise, there are few real joys to middle age. The only perk I can see is that with luck, you'll acquire a guest room." Now, what Sedaris is saying here is it can be very frustrating because when you hit your middle age, you've kind of done the things that you probably had set out to do. Or you failed to do them, in which case then you're now trying to figure out who you even are because all those goals haven't yet been achieved. I think buried in Sedaris's text here is a recognition of that question we considered yesterday. The Peggy Lee question. Is that all there is? Now what? When we recognize that question, when we ask that question for real, now what? We have to start being honest with ourselves. That it doesn't matter how much you love your career. It doesn't matter how much money you make at it. There are still most days that are just what David Foster Wallace refers to as the day in, day out, mundane, life-sucking realities of adulthood. This is the situation when we say, wow, I wanted to spend my life teaching philosophy and it's amazing. I threw myself into it and I was passionate and absolutely took the classroom and wanted to model what it looks like to be that John Keating sort of teacher from Dead Poets Society. And then you turn 35 or 40. And then you say, wow, one more time through Descartes' Meditations? Really? But notice it's not to forget our privilege of having those jobs and having that opportunity. Being a professional means getting up and doing the job even when you don't have the energy to do it anymore. Part of maturity is recognizing how to be a professional. It's not all about emotion. It's not all about the feels. Sometimes it's just about being good. But here's the thing. Even in that exhaustion, even in the boredom with the thing that we otherwise love, the now what question resounds. I think that the important shift here is to realize that philosophy, whether in Confucius or Socrates, is an encouragement to reorient our priorities. It's a shift from success questions to significance questions. It's what I talk about in my TedX talk, that we should stop thinking all of our goals, as important as they are, we should stop thinking that our goals are simply things to be checked off on some day in the future and start orienting ourselves towards goals that can't be checked off. For example, instead of saying, oh, I'd love to get married, check, 24. Oh, well, I'd love to get a PhD, check, 28, 29, whatever it was. Oh, well, I'd love to start a family, check, 34, right? Instead of those sorts of check boxes, we start thinking, how do I become a good father? Well, I'm not going to check that box off. That's going to be a task for the rest of my life. How do I become a good husband? Rest of my life sort of goal. When we orient ourselves that way, toward being faithful to what matters, toward trying to have a narrative of our lives defined by values that we take to be significant enough to teach others. But we teach others not just in our classrooms, not just in our words, but with our very embodied example. That, I think, is how we answer the now what question. It's not, now what? Oh, a new car, right? This isn't The Price is Right. This isn't an episode of Oprah. It's, hey, another day. So what are you going to do with it? How do we move forward? How do we embrace the opportunity to be trustworthy, to be reliable, to be somebody who cares about others, to develop empathy as in fact a courageous virtue? This is what it looks like to see the human condition as not something to try to escape, but something to get good at. For me, that's how I answer the now what question. And some days I've got the energy to answer it well, other days I don't. But I'm gonna keep trying. Let's keep dancing with Peggy Lee, but let's recognize that the dancing is not the ultimate goal. It's the faithfulness to our dance partner. I'll see you tomorrow, unless a piano falls on our heads.